guides have been needling me about doing a karmic relationships reading. And if you know a little bit about my channel, first of all, I'm so excited you're here. If you're new, and welcome back if you are coming back. My readings tend to be pretty in-depth. I work a lot from looking at your soul's purpose, where you are in your spiritual path, and looking at alignment, manifestation. And so I don't always do relationship readings, but it is so important for us as souls to feel a sense of liberty and sovereignty in our lives. And often relationships tend to complicate our lives. And it's not because of the relationship or the person itself. It usually is connected to the karma or the energy between you and a person. Remember, relationships can also be relationships with family, relationships with siblings, relationship with co-workers, relationships with people that you're in school with, and so social groups. It can be any of those, and Spirit really wanted to bring this message through. So what we're going to be doing is starting with pulling cards. I'm going to be doing some oracle, some tarot, and we're going to just see where it takes us, and we're going to just look at the energy and what is the impression. I'm going to be working with my guides, your guides, but also I'm going to be working with ancestors and whatever other guides come through, and just to see what the message is. As always, this is a timeless reading, and the timestamps will be below. So let's just see what we have. So right away in the energy, I can see a lot of water energy coming through, a lot of emotion and being swept up in a current. So here we have, and we're right now in Cancer season. That's actually quite perfect, although this reading's timeless, of course. So carried away by the current. Now we know that, you know, relationships have a lot of emotion attached to them often, and that the emotion can be enriching and can give you a sense of connection with the person, and it can put you into a deeper relationship with the people that you're connected to. However, it can also disable your clarity and put you in a position of feeling powerless and not feeling liberated. And what's really coming forth to me as well is we're getting the number 28, which also in numerology equals the number 10. And the number 10 is an ending of cycles. So right away, just as we're diving off into this reading about karmic relationships, or the karma that can be in your relationships, we are getting a sense of being dragged and pulled. For me, that's a lot to do when we're looking at chakras. The second chakra, of course, the second chakra is emotions. It's passion, it's intimacy, it's your sensuality. So that is making you feel untethered, unanchored, and a little bit as though you've been disabled from your center. The next oracle card we're getting is in the Garden of Lost Teeth. This is such a great card. Also, the number 4 is coming out. So a lot of that has to do with memories from childhood. Remember losing your teeth, but also the number 4 has to do with stability, wanting structure, wanting containment. And this is just, I think there is 2 parts to this puzzle. So first, likely if these karmic relationships are occurring, part of you is really wanting to feel safe, to feel like it's grounded, to feel like there's structure, there's boundaries here. But the impulse to feel that way, which is probably causing some of the karmic tension, likely has to do with something from childhood and not feeling safe, not feeling heard, not feeling anchored, not feeling tethered, right? And so that can lead to a lot of distress and feeling as if something is completely trying to get you to tether yourself or to anchor yourself into something or someone. Again, we're looking at karmic relationships. So how does that apply? The interesting thing is the octopus is coming up. Also the number 11, which is a number of divinity, but the number 2, which has to do with coupling, decisions. We're getting all intelligent tentacles. So what do we know, right, about if you can imagine the tentacles of an octopus? They have sensors on them, right? They feel everything. They anticipate things. They can look way ahead of themselves and slip in underneath a rock and get a sense of things. So I believe possibly that some of the karmic energy you're feeling that could be triggered here has to do with your coping mechanism being one that you would put out your feelers, put out your senses to make sure things were safe. Again, we're talking about relationships here, right? And we're talking about how to feel clear and grounded and happy and purposeful and in alignment when it comes to relationships. And so some of these possible ways of reacting to things from this emotional perspective and wanting to feel safe and structured, but feeling things out has a lot to do with the raw data that you have available to you. I'm hearing from Spirit that is likely connected to some issues from childhood. So let's get further into this reading. I have a game plan for us, okay? I want to look at, let's say that you have a connection with a partner or a person and you're wanting to understand it. So I'm going to take a look again and look at the foundations of this connection and see, what it's all about between you and this person, or even you and a group of people. So, and again, when we're doing this kind of work, the intention is we're trying to clear up our part of the karmic energy. And when we do that, we do have a sense of clarity. Okay, so we have the World card coming out representing you, which is amazing, the person, and then the energy between you. So the World card already is telling us we're at the end of a cycle. There is a desire to have things change, to turn a new leaf, to begin something new, and to recycle and reform what was into something much better, a much better version. However, it looks like the person that you're in a connection with, Knight of Pentacles in reverse, is stuck in a pattern, stuck in an energy of the way things possibly used to be in the connection. So they're working from outdated information. And this is likely what's causing you to feel as though things are stuck in a cycle. They're repeating themselves over and over again. How do I stop this? How do I move forward? What do I need to do next? And let's look at the energy between you. See, this is perfect. We have the Judgment card coming. So here's the thing, which I feel is happening. You're wanting to move on from the energy of the relationship, from the dynamic. You're wanting to grow. You're wanting to expand. You're wanting to get more insight. And that's really coming because the Judgment card is telling us we have a choice to make. We have the option to connect with our higher self, our intuition, our spirit guides, and bring down that wisdom and start anew in this relationship. However, if the person who you're connected to, or the group, or the people, is resistant, the sense I'm getting about this person too, or these people, is I don't think they're necessarily conscious of the fact that they're stuck. That is really what I'm hearing. I think that they are stuck and they don't realize it, and that does make a lot of sense. So we're getting the Ace of Wands in reverse. The Ace of Wands is the beginning of passion, inspiration. It's a fundamental core energy, core trigger within us that moves us forward on a journey. And if it's plugged up, if it is muddied, if it is kept small, it can't direct the person here. So that does make things complicated. So what do we do when we have a sense of a person we're in a connection with? Possibly we care about them, or a group that we're connected with, but they're not moving forward and you are. What do you do? So Spirit has this card coming out for you, the Queen of Wands. I was talking about this yesterday on my live stream, and I was saying, because people are saying, well, what do we do when we're in connections with people in situations where people are not growing and we are? What do we do? And honestly, part of the work comes from karmically clearing up your part of the connection. It has to do with you not trying to change the other person. It has to do with you clearing out your channels, your chakras, your intuition, and moving forward on your path. Because as you do that, you will make changes around you. And so starting with that in mind is really important and really helpful. Now, let's look at the emotional, spiritual connection between you and this person or this group. Again, we are starting from that place. So this is why I think that that's one of the tough ones. What makes me think like this might be family or someone that is really connected to you. It feels like family. So your connection here is the Ten of Pentacles. And, that means, again, that is like long-term vision. That is something that is probably someone or something, or excuse me, a group of people that you have built a connection with over time. So it feels like it's a lasting connection, and that's what makes it tough, because you're not saying, okay, I want to throw the whole thing out. What do I do? So how do I refresh the energy? Because this is part of my vision is with this person. This could be a long-term partner or a family member, as I mentioned, or someone that you have really built something with, or even a long-term friendship. And here's what's interesting about their energy. They're pulling the King of Pentacles. Okay, so the King of Pentacles has a lot of very good qualities in that energy. The King of Pentacles is reliable, grounded, trustworthy, solid in their energy, but they can also, in some instances, be very resistant to change. They can be stubborn. They can be difficult, not want to change. And it's just because sometimes they just don't know how to. So that is part of the complexity of this energetic connection, is that there's good things about this person that you really have built a life with. So let's look at the strengths of the connection. I'm also hearing a ringing in my ears, which is also an indicator that this is spirit coming in. So the Two of Wands. So what this makes me feel is I do get a sense of this person or this group of people, they have been supportive of you in the past. They've encouraged you. They have said, go out there and go for it, right? Do the thing you want to do. Go ahead. My sense is with them, though, they're not doing those things. And a bit of you feels like maybe you've outgrown them. That is something I'm getting. And then yours is that the Four of Swords is your strength of a connection, which means I do believe this person gives you space and says, well, take time out for yourself, whatever you need. Part of this may be something where you feel as though you're, again, growing and changing and shifting, but this person isn't keeping up with that. And that is where the rubber meets the road, where you really have to decide, is this going to be for me? Is this going to be for me? That's a tough place to be in. It's deciding what's, ultimately what your next choice is, right? That's interesting. So let's look at the challenges in the relationship, the challenges and the difficulties of this. You've got the Page of Swords on your end, and they are Six of Swords. Not a bad combination, because both of these are air signs. So even though it's tough, it's actually can be helpful. So yours, mainly for you, Page of Swords, this is new directions, new inspiration, new ideas, new beginnings of something that you're committed to. This could even be your spiritual path, a new business you're doing, a new direction you're going in. And they are Six of Swords, which is interesting. In this case, I feel like this is avoidant energy of, wanting to move away from difficulty, not wanting to be in a place where they're feeling too challenged. Now, those two things don't necessarily go together, but they don't have to oppose each other because they're from the same element. So they're both from the swords, the air, the communication, the ideas. And so even though it feels challenging, as though, wow, I'm going in this direction, but they're going in another direction, that difficulty, I think, can be reconciled. That is really what I'm hearing. Okay? All right, let's see what our next one is. I have a list of the ones I love doing for these readings. Let's look at the deepest desires of this connection. Just what do we want to know from each of you? See, this makes so much sense to me. Oh my goodness. So for your partner or your person or your friend or whoever this person is, Two of Cups. So they're looking at the intimacy of the relationship. They like the way things are. They feel a connection. And yet at the same time, Two of Cups is not Ten of Cups. Ten of Cups is a bit along the way, a little further. And so they're desiring that, but they may also be a little stuck there, because 2 sometimes doesn't want to move to 3. right? Because 3 has to do with expansion and growth, right? Creativity. However, you are in the place of the magician, right? The magician's like, I am manifesting, I am starting something brand new. I have all these things around me that I want to be able to create, to manifest, to put into the world. I have so many things I'm learning and I can't wait. Whereas their energy is like, I'm happy with the way things are. So that's a little bit of this diagnostic of this energy, which makes it tough. Okay, let's get into insights about potential outcomes in the connection. Let's just give it a look. So this is a really good sign, actually. Okay, why it's a good sign is this. So the first thing is we have the Death card representing their energy. That means transformation. That means finally realizing I need to let go. I need to move on. I need to begin again. I better catch up in my own way. I can't stay stuck and stubborn, is what I'm hearing from the guides, in this position indefinitely. This is just causing too much stress in my friends or my partners or the person I'm connected to in their life. And the ripple effects are happening. So they will eventually get the message. That's really what I'm getting. And then on your end, which I'm very encouraged about, I'm super encouraged about this because you're pulling the Emperor. So the Emperor really takes charge of their own destiny. That is a Mars energy, that's an Aries energy, that's a beginning energy. It means that regardless of where you are in your life now, you are going to own your own, I call that sovereignty, and your own path, and you're going to create your own reality. And that, that's part of why in your whoever you're in this connection with, why the energy will shift because of your changes. That goes back to what we were saying earlier, is that your changes, your motions forward, the things that you choose to do is going to be the thing that's going to push them over. Not because you're trying to make them change, but because you are changing yourself. And they want to keep up with you in some way, not be you, but to keep up with you, which I think is, valid. And relationships, especially the ones that we're seeing here, that we're getting like this 10 of Pentacles relationship, which is a solid relationship with this like King of Pentacles. These are long-lasting, long-term connections. Now, of course, you have absolute right to make changes any way you want, and you have sovereignty and you have options and choices. However, keep in mind that sometimes those things that are really rock solid, those don't come very often. And if you feel as though you are respected and loved and cherished, again, that you are honored in the relationship, even if your person is a little bit more stuck and stubborn, as long as you can do what you need to do in your life, that's really valuable and very important. Okay, so let's get to the lessons the connection offers in the relationship, which is always a really good question. What do we have? So we have the 7 of Swords, which is one of my favorite cards actually for discernment. Okay, and then we got the Fool in the reverse. So here's the lessons. This is key. Okay, 7 of Swords has to do with deciding and discernment. The number 7 has to do with really deciding, what am I keeping and what am I letting go of? It's a choice. It's a selection. And it says, some of these swords, some of these ideas, some of these situations, I'm going to have to release. I'm going to have to turn it over, and I'm going to have to start anew in some other direction. And that is good. And a sense of freedom, right? And that is going to be necessary in this connection and where you are in your life for you to move on or to start something new, because the Fool card's in reverse. So this is saying I can't move forward on my journey until I resolve or understand what's most important to me. What do I value? And I want to look at a little bit at like, what's the value here, right? We want to see that. What is that, please, Spirit? If you've enjoyed this reading, I would love it if you could subscribe and be sure to follow and sign up for notifications so you can know when I do readings, I release readings twice a week, and I also do a live stream every Friday. Wonderful collective messages. We're getting a number 7. So if you're seeing a lot of sevens, seven's a number for you right now, okay? 7 of Pentacles and the Justice card. So this means the Justice card is when we are looking at things reasonably, with clarity, logic, balance, and we're weighing out all options. But we're also next to, again, the 7 of Pentacles, and we're deciding what is growing on the vine and what do we need to release? What is something we want to invest in and what is not working? So maybe it's really how you're looking at the situation. Maybe it is time to grow separately. That's really up to you. But at the same time, I honestly feel as though there's something here. There's something here that is a treasure worth keeping. And then let's get the overall message, and then I'm definitely going to pull a few oracle cards here. We have the 6 of Swords coming again and the Page of Pentacles. So the 6 of Swords in this final message is that, you know, when you've gone through the labyrinth of all the swords, you know, the ace, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, that's a labyrinth of challenge, of mental breakthroughs, of feeling stuck, of having competition, of feeling a lot of wounding, past pain, but then finally getting to a place where you feel a sense there is a release, there is clarity, there is guidance about what is coming next, and we have a sense of, okay, we did it and we got through it. And then Page of Pentacles is always like looking in earnest to want to build something, especially the Pentacles, right? And they are very much like in earnest, getting an idea, what do they want to create, right? So they're coming forth, they're saying, okay, what do I want to create? I have an idea, what am I going to move and make it into? What am I going to build? And when you get to this point, we're really coming from a place, again, of clarity. Can you hear the birds? They're validating. And you're really at a place of clarity and a place of stability, and so you don't want to wander off too far off into an entirely new direction. Again, to build that castle, I want to go back to the 10 of Pentacles again, because this is coming forth. So you'll notice there's this little castle that this page has built, right? He's looking forward to building that castle. He's gotten that castle, but look, he's also here standing, right? He's right next to his family, who he trusts, who he believes in, and they have built this whole castle, this life together as a unit. So hard work pays off. That's what I'm hearing. I hope that makes sense. Let me pull the oracle card again. This is coming into completion, this karmic reading, and hopefully bringing you some clarity, some guidance, and insight that makes things just illuminated for you. So let's see what this has for us here with our oracle card, okay? Again, let me know in the comments if this resonated. Timestamps below. They're telling me to pull 2 cards for you. Okay, so we're pulling, these are wonderful as well. So here we go. This is very interesting. 2 points. The first is we're getting jump in, Andromedan energy, adventure, say yes to change. So that is that Magician card. Go forth with what you have. That's really activating, moving you somewhere. So you're on your own journey moving forward. However, you also have you got the love, Hadarian energy, codependency, and boundaries. So this is go for it, but also understand what's the work we need to do in order, again, the boundaries, to be clear in this connection, to know what's the advice moving forward, moving through that. Do we need to release everything, start again completely, or do we need to just push the boundaries a little further and claim what is ours? So I hope this makes sense. Thank you again for being here, and we'll see you in the next reading.